Can we just take agenda item 1?
Thank you. Just have the one apology from the subcommittee, being Councillor Ronnie.
And agenda item 2, please.
Thank you. We have 3 board members present this morning. A number of apologies, being Councillor Wood, Councillor Fairbairn, Karen Hunter and David Stainthorpe. This means that the board aren't actually quorate, as the quorum requires 4 board members to be present. Is the chairman content that these board members remain in the meeting?
Yep, I'm happy with that. Agenda item 3, is any declarations of interest from the Pension Subcommittee? And we'll move on to agenda item 5, as agenda item 4 is now null and void. So are members happy to agree the minute of the 4th of July at 10:30 a.m? Yep, thank you. Agenda item 6 is now null and void too. So can we move on to agenda item 7? Here we're being asked for a number of, being asked to approve a number of recommendations, namely being 2.1, the additions to the annual training plan in Appendix 1 following the previous meeting of this committee. 2.2, progress to date in the training record of training and the process for updating the record of training. 2.3, the requirement to complete the online pensions regular public service toolkit training provided at the hyperlink by the end of September 2017 and notify the team by emailing the email address. 2.4, the background information, what is responsible investment, available at the hyperlink and by the end of September 2017 and notify the team on the email address. 2.5, to note Appendix 3, the Hymans-Robertson briefing regarding markets and financial instruments directive requirements for opting up to professional client status and that the Dumfries and Galloway Pension Fund meets the criteria. And members are also asked to 2.6, register interest in the LGC Investment Seminar Scotland by emailing the email address. Have we got a presentation?
No.
Are you wanting to say anything?
Actually. Obviously, it's just to emphasise that the introduction of the formal training plan is new this year, and the key thing is that we're able to keep it up to date. We won't always know what you're doing as individuals, so just would ask that you communicate with us any training that you do undertake, and we'd be very welcome to receive any further suggestions in light of future committees as to items that you think that we do need to cover. In terms of the additions to the annual training plan following the last meeting, we are looking to arrange training on asset classes, which you specifically requested more information on, and also environmental, social and governance factors, and we'll come back to you with definite dates for those. With regards to the LGC investment seminar, it's just to emphasise that we're looking for expressions of interest. Places will be limited, and we wouldn't ever expect to have every member of the committee in attendance, but if anybody is interested and available to go on those dates, if they can let us know, we'll make the arrangements for all attendees on your behalf.
Do any members have any questions?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, just on the LGC event, I presume that it's a 2-day event, so both days attendance would be required in order to complete that target, if you like, that's in the table there. And the second thing is, obviously in the list of training, some of it is sort of led by officers in terms of organising, in terms of the content, etc., and the dates that are to be confirmed. Some obviously is up to members to actually do in their own time as per the list. So it's really just to make clear for all members that we have to take responsibility in doing some of the sort of self-training as well, if you like, as well as the sort of other events. So I'm just wondering if that's clear to everybody.
Yes, certainly that is definitely the case. I'll perhaps update the record in future as well to make that more clear, those that are member-led and those that are actual arranged events for individuals, to make that clearer.
just on the 2-day event, I presume both days would be required, or is it kind of if you can only be available one day, does that go towards your training requirement, if you like, or is it, do you have to be able to go both days in order to go, if you see what I mean?
We do have the agenda for that now. If you're able to attend on one day, that would still be beneficial. They will cover a number of different events over the 2-day seminar, so even attendance on one day would still be very useful.
Any other questions?
Where is that event being held?
It's in Edinburgh, that one.
Any further questions? Okay, we'll move on to the recommendations. Are we happy to note 2.1, the additions to the annual training plan Appendix 1? Yep. 2.2, progress to date in the record of training Appendix 2 and the process for updating the record of training. Yep. 2.3, the requirement to complete the online pensions regulator public service toolkit training available at the link by the end of September and to notify the team. Yep. 2.4, the background information what is responsible investment available at the link by the end of September 2017 and notify the team by emailing them. Yep. And 2.5, no Appendix 3, the Hymans-Robertson briefing regarding markets and financial investment directive, requirements for opting up to professional client status and that the Dumfries and Galloway Pension Fund meets the criteria. And are we also happy to 2.6, registered interest in the LGC Investment Seminar Scotland by emailing the email address? Graham?
This is assuming that the internet is working better than it has been this week. If not, this could be an intermittent process and might have to be extended beyond the end of September unless IT get their finger out and do something correct this time.
I suppose we can always live in hope, can't we? Are we happy to agree that?
I mean, this event in Edinburgh, wherever it is, this 2-day seminar, I mean, we don't know that we'll be able to attend because it could be it's not necessarily going to be on dates which are suitable for members to go to. So, how much flexibility, is there more than one course that people could go on?
Yeah, our fund managers, Hymans and other organisations will arrange events right through the year. We've never had a huge number of people be able to attend because of other commitments, so that's not unusual. And we don't always get a huge amount of notice of the dates of these either. So we'd always just, encourage the committee to aim to send people along if we can. We're normally able to get access to the training materials that they do present on the day, and we'll make those available through the SharePoint site that we're developing for members as well. So there is always a recognition that you'll never get full representation from any single organisation that's invited.
Okay, thanks for that. Sorry, Graham.
Yeah, when you were announcing that Hymans-Robertson would make arrangements, etc., throughout the year, I noticed a Hymans-Robertson representative. I'm not sure if it was a grimace or a wry smile he made. Perhaps he would like to comment.
Sorry, in terms of events and things? Right, I mean, we will occasionally offer events for clients. We're nothing to do with this LGC event at all. We will periodically hold seminars if there's a lot happening, and we might have those in Glasgow, and hopefully we give lots of notice of those. But I can't comment on the LGC one really.
Okay. So we'll move on to agenda item 8, which is the Local Government Pension Scheme Administration Annual Update. Does Andy want to say a few? Yeah.
Thanks, Chair. Yes, I'd like to introduce the 2016-17 report to members on the administration activity that the pensions team are involved in, and also an overview of the transactions from the scheme. In terms of the background, this is an annual process whereby we report activity, performance, projects, and also some of the scheme transactions over the last year. Our pensions team has seen a lot of changes within the pension scheme over many years. However, over the last 2.5 years, it started to settle down into the current set of regulations, where we've moved away from a final salary link for future benefits to career average salary. However, one of the aspects of the scheme is that pre-2015 service that employees have accrued in the scheme will retain that final salary connection. So we've had that settled period where we've been able to implement the systems and processes to ensure that we're getting the information that we need out to individuals to ensure they know as much as they can about their future pension value to help them plan for the future. In terms of some of the activity that I've listed in 3.5, it's very varied. There's significant exchanges between the Council's pensions team and also by the membership of the fund. Basically from joining to retirement, we have a low turnover within the organisation anyway, so we tend to have employees for a long period of time. So they build up reasonable service within the pension scheme. One of the key aims for the team, and has been over the past couple of years and going forward, is to try and get the message across about how important pensions are and planning is for the future. Unfortunately, it's an inherently complex area. So we're always striving to improve that information and make it as understandable as possible. We've also sent out recently the annual benefit statements, which some members may have also received recently. That's a major step forward for the team. That's been brought about by pension regulator regulations, whereby they've put a control on all public authorities to have benefit statements out before the end of August each year. That date never used to be there. It was something that basically organisations used to plan for. So we've brought that forward quite significantly, and that's a credit to the work of the team. What we're also kind of really involved in as well is ensuring that the performance of the team is up to the standards that we set. And we have a number of performance indicators that I've highlighted there to committee. Overall, the performance is good. And this is something that we look to measure and report on. However, one of the projects for the next year will be to review the performance indicators, because the systems and processes we're putting in place, the vast majority of indicators we're meeting or exceeding. So it's now time to review those and see if we can further improve those going forward. In terms of some of the key projects that the team is involved in going forward, pension increase reconciliation for our pensioner members. Historically, the Pay and Employment Services payroll system used to calculate pension increase for our pensioners. And unfortunately, when that annual job took place, there used to be a cost to the supplier for that. However, our pension system that we have and that we've brought in, that does the calculation for the organisation. That's a core part of the system. So we no longer have to do that development and get involved in those additional costs, and we do it in-house now. So we are effectively calculating and issuing the payments for our pensioners. As I said, we're reviewing the performance measures. One of the key areas going forward continues to be improving data quality, and that's something, again, that's imposed on us by the pension regulator. We're quite fortunate in many ways that we already have good data quality and systems in place. However, there's always room for improvement. And the thing with the pension regulator is they put a framework out there that we can work to, and that helps us to improve the data quality, and that's really important. The project that's supporting the early retirement voluntary severance process, that's a significant burden for the team. We calculate the benefits for managers and staff so that they can engage in conversations about whether or not an early retirement could be a possibility. This year is the triennial valuation process, so the fund is valued to determine what the future service rate is for the council and the contributions that the employer has to pay for 3 years. That requires the team to really produce a considerable amount of data for the actuary so that they can assess that. That's a project that we're involved in, and we're ahead of schedule there. We've already met with the actuary, and we're looking to present the valuation data pretty much imminently, which again is a step forward from where we used to present the data, just due to the process improvements that we've put in place. Lastly, in terms of the projects, is about increasing the engagement between my team and the workforce and employers, because that's really important in terms of trying to get the message out there and improving the understanding about what pensions are actually all about. And we're doing a number of seminars across the region, from Stranraer to Gretna, from Kirkconnell and Sanquhar, in Dumfries, and these are going very well. Staff are benefiting from these, and the pensions team are available on site to ask direct questions, sometimes personal questions to them, which invariably can happen on a kind of one-to-one basis. So really good engagement that's happening there. So that gives a kind of broad overview of some of the work that we're involved in. It's significant, it's a very busy service, and the increased demand that customers place in our service is an inevitable consequence of the issues that are in the public domain about protecting pensions going forward. Happy to take any questions.
Is there any questions? Jim?
Looking at page 2, Stuart, the early leaver payment of refund at the bottom of the table.
Yes.
Why have we only managed to exceed the target once in over a 5-year period?
That's quite a challenging area of work for the team, because when we pay refunds out, one of the difficulties is actually tracking people down. We try to find people and to ensure that we can actually pay the refunds. Once they've left the organisation, they don't always tell us where they've gone to. So we try to find them as best we can, and we deal with those, and those are the ones that we're marking in our performance plan. What we can now do is we can look towards tracing services. There's national tracing services that we're trying to utilise so that we can continue to find people. They'll deal with their employment termination, and they'll tell the department, etc., that they're leaving. But unfortunately, we're kind of at the back end of that process. So that's the main reason why we don't always meet that target, as you can see, consistently over a period of time.
Any other questions? Stephen?
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, it's just same page, and it does refer to it in the report, but just it's sort of noticeable 2016-17 lump sum payments on death, and I appreciate it's a sensitive sort of area, but I mean, we seem to have been going along quite nicely, given that it's a sensitive area, and then hit a drop of 25% last year. So I'm just wondering if you can add any more qualification to that. Thanks.
I think it's just to provide a reassurance to members that what we're trying to do and improve in our process is that engagement with family members. Historically, we would just very much follow the process of paying a benefit out without any real engagement with the family members. Now, we wouldn't receive any particular complaints around that, so it wasn't as if previously at 100% we were doing anything wrong. But I think what we feel is a better solution for the organisation is that we engage directly with families where there are situations of a death. And there's a named contact within the team. And because we're having more of that engagement and conversations with families, then we quite often ask them the question about the financial side. It's a bit delicate given the sensitivities around the subject. And in more and more cases, the family are saying to us, can you wait? Can you wait a couple of weeks? And then that allows the family to deal with the initial aftermath. And then we process the benefits. So I think that's one of the performance indicators I want to look at going forward, because I think I need to take that intelligence into account as to how we actually deliver that going forward, given the way that the feedback that we've actually got from families, particularly in the last 12 to 18 months.
Thank you. No, I appreciate that, and I think you just touched on it there. Obviously, if you've changed the way your practice, then a measurement becomes redundant, because effectively it's not measuring what you're doing, which effectively is trying to improve the service by being more sensitive. So I mean, if I think maybe our reports could maybe reflect that, to show the qualitative approach maybe than just we've paid it within a certain time period, because obviously there's it's a more human way of doing business, I suppose. Thank you.
Any further questions, Graham?
Yeah, and On the annual member admin costs, you have a target of under £25, which is fair enough. But all years, well, 2013-14 it was £17.99. The next year it more or less doubled. Now it's back down to why did it double? And the other bit of the question is, can we guarantee that it won't double again?
The principal reason why it doubled in 2014 was that we migrated to a new pensions administration computer system. The legislation was coming thick and fast, and we needed to react to that. The supplier that we are with supplies the pension system to over 90 other local authorities in the UK, so it's an excellent system, one of the best that I've ever used in my experience of the public sector. So we had to migrate, we couldn't be left behind. That was a significant cost there. It stabilises from the initial cost of migrating to a new product into care and maintenance and rental charges. We tend to look at a life cycle of a system of between 8 and 10 years. So we may have to look at that again in the future once a new product comes online, and we'll do the same scrutiny as we did in 14-15, based on the environment, the marketplace, the costs, etc. But that's the principal reason why it doubled at that time.
Stephen?
Sorry if there's nobody else, Chair, but it was just on the strain on the pension fund and in terms of early retirement costs and what we might, I know there's not necessarily a direct correlation, but in terms of the contributions we might want to look at in terms of, what percentage employees sort of changes that might have an impact on, given that the ratio, if you like, of those in the pensionable sort of side compared to staff is increasing, and there's a sort of additional strain, so that has to be balanced somehow. So I know there's more members in the scheme, but at the same time the ratio has sort of changed as well. So would we be considering, tweaking that percentage of contribution, and what avenues are open to us to protect the fund effectively?
I think obviously, inevitably, as we can see, given the larger numbers of redundancy and efficiency retirements, there is a strain in the fund cost, which is directly related to early payment of benefits from what is effectively someone's normal pension age. And that's obviously satisfying a process that the Council has to embark on in terms of a budget saving process principally. That information is of course shared with the actuary through the valuation process in terms of the health of the fund, in terms of the costs of the strain in the fund for early retirements over the past 3 years. That's all looked at in terms of what the future service rate would be. Now, I obviously can't predict the future contribution rate, and that's something that still needs to be gone through with the valuation process, but it is considered as part of the overall valuation of the fund. And looking at that, the increased membership is also looked at, as well as obviously offsetting that against the increased number of pensioners as well.
Can I just add to that when there is an early retirement, the pension fund is fully compensated from the revenue budget for the cost of that early retirement as well, so that there isn't an ongoing impact to the fund for those.
A wee detail there. So, and could you remind me again of the timescale of when the actuarial assessment, if you like, will be done, so we'll be in a position to sort of see what the percentage contribution looks like?
I think the plan is for a report to be brought forward in November of this year.
Graham?
If you look at Appendix 1, contributions received to the fund, 29.25 million, transfers in just over $250,000, that comes to 29.5 million. And if you add up the transfers out, the pensions paid, the lump sums paid and the death grants paid, it comes to 33.5 million. So we're running at a loss of approximately £4 million a year. Can we sustain that?
The way the fund's operating just now is, as you correctly say, that the actual contributions and payments to members is running at a shortfall. that's made up through the investment income that we generate through the investments. So that's covering that. So we're not at the stage where we're actually having to sell investments to make up the shortfall. It's coming through the investment income we're generating.
Any more questions? So we'll move to recommendations. Are members okay to note 2.1, the annual report on local government pension scheme administration activity for financial years 2016/17? Okay, and note 2.2, the detailed scheme activity information for financial years 16/17 as outlined in Appendix 1. Okay.
I don't know if it's an action or just within normal business or whatever, but just in terms of reviewing the performance indicators, given that we've changed the way we now do the death benefit sort of transaction, if you like, is that a kind of action point for officers, or is that doesn't need to be a recommendation? No.
I mean, certainly I can give the assurance that that's in our project team plan for the forthcoming year, if that's sufficient for the committee.
We'll move on to agenda item 9. Is there any other business? Nope. So we'll move on to agenda item 10. Are we okay to adopt the resolution to exclude the public from the meeting in terms of the section 50A4 and paragraph 9 of part 1 of the scheduled 7A of the Local Government Scotland Act 1973?